instituted a zero GST tax on the use of any energy that's generated through solar products. In addition, the regulator has now just completed all the stakeholder evaluations for a multi-tariff order, which guarantees or provides certainty of tariff for the next 3 to 5 years for any new entrants into the mini-grid space. So we believe that those two items, the zero tax, zero GST, and a credible tariff, a predictable tariff over a certain period, provides the basis for investment to come in. The landscape has changed in terms of funding in energy. And we know that without, as you call it, catalytic capital, without patient catalytic capital, it's going to be very difficult for investors to come in into these kind of markets that are actually risky to invest. So we believe that the fund that's being developed through Africa 50 and the ISA gives us the opportunity for not only private capital, but for also capital that's patient and will provide us with a catalytic move to get to our goals of 78% in about 3.5 years now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We take note of the tax incentives, duty incentives, and also how you welcome patient capital. And this will lead me directly to a question to Mr. Vijay regarding the financing barriers. So what do you believe are the financing barriers in the renewable energy sector in Africa? And how can this facility help unlock the sector potential?
Thank you, Ben. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be up here talking about this very important subject. Is it on? Let me preface my comments by telling you how difficult a DRE project developer's life is. They are hoping to secure project finance. They are hoping to secure money from people who have it by convincing them that they don't need it, but also fervently wishing that they don't realize how desperately they need it. So this is the challenge that developers face. It's a very high capital investment. So if you look at more conventional energy projects, you have a decent mix between what you invest upfront in capital and what you keep for working capital needs down the road. So it's a little bit of a 50-50 split between CapEx and OpEx. But with DRE projects based on solar, almost 90% of the upfront cost is CapEx. You have to invest for solar panels, batteries, all the connections, the regulators, etc. And this is a huge barrier for any DRE project, because that kind of capital, securing that kind of capital upfront is very challenging. The other aspect that makes it even more challenging is that you have a fairly longish payback period on these projects. So the Honorable Minister from Sierra Leone, and also before that from Malawi, mentioned that productive use is key. Now we all use electricity in our homes. We are not using it for productive purposes. So our demand for electricity remains pretty much constant. If you look at your electricity bill month to month, there is not much variation in how much you consume. But for a DRE operator, the profits come in only when their customers start to consume more and more power. And for this, it's essential that they are using it for productive purposes. but it takes time for consumers to build up to a productive use trajectory. So over a period of time, the DRE operator is spending money on paying salaries, on maintaining the equipment, supplying the power, but there is, in the first few years, there is very little growth in the business. So the payback periods are long. Payback periods are long means that they have to get longer term debt, and the costs of debt being what they are, the overall cost of the project becomes very unmanageable. So this is a very serious, challenging barrier for project proponents, DRE projects to get finance. So what do you do if you are a DRE operator? You're hoping that you get boost in your equity, in your own capital, through some sources of soft funding, either equity funding or long-term loans that can be obtained at a much lower cost, that you can convince banks to give you a very good leverage. Normally, you are hoping to get a 1 in 4 leverage with your equity, but banks don't normally agree to that. It's a very risk-averse situation for them. You'll be lucky if you get 1:3. So therefore, the need for blended finance, therefore the need for soft instruments that can bring down the cost of capital, extend the tenor of your financing. And this is where I think the DRE fund that is being set up has to play a very important role, because it can come in at several parts of the capital structure. It can come in the equity and the long-term soft loan element through subordinated debt or through equity, so that the DRE operators' capital structure starts to look a little bit more balanced. It can come in at the top end in terms of debt capital, commercial debt capital of shorter tenor, but the costs are lowered through maybe blended finance instruments. So this is critical to promote the kind of DRE projects that the two ministers have alluded to, which are a need for the country, but also very much in line with what we are thinking about access and the productive use and the impact that it can have on economies and jobs and growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vijay. So we understand the main challenge is the capital, the patient's capital, because most of the costs for renewable projects are front-loaded. So there's need for patient's capital to finance this so that the project can also leverage it with debt. And fortunately enough, the fund we are discussing today provide this patient long-term equity to the project. So we have the perspective from the policymakers. We also understand some of the challenges. Let's talk to some of the investors in the room. So Mr. Kola first. As the Chief Investment Officer of the Nigerian Sovereign Fund, what do you think are the main features or the risk mitigation instruments that are critical for this type of facility to crowd in commercial and sovereign capital into a DRE project?
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. On the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, firstly, is Nigeria's Sovereign Wealth Fund. It has 3 ring-fence funds. One to stabilize the government during times of economic stress. Another one designed to invest in commercially viable infrastructure in Nigeria. And the third one is what we call the Future Generations Fund, that invests with an endowment-like strategy and invest globally. Now, for us, we find unique opportunities to invest. We have patient long-term capital, and we seek to invest the Future Generations Fund globally. So that can actually invest in projects all across the geographic scope of this Africa DRE Fund. And in terms of risk mitigation, I think what we talk about here in terms of blended finance actually makes a lot of difference. It helps a lot to reduce the risk. It also helps to ensure that the structure is optimal for the equity investors in the DRE fund. Now, one thing that this DRE fund also does is provides geographical diversity, and that also helps a lot in risk mitigation. It allows investors have a single point of contact to deploy capital across the continent to places that really need that capital, structured to be commercially viable, because there is the concessionary capital as well that helps with some of the risk mitigation. And it allows investors deliver this investment at the kind of scale that international investors want to see. And so the Africa DRE Fund would actually allow and showcase that it can be a profitable venture to impact lives, at the same time generates returns for investors. And this is why this fund is particularly interesting. There was also partnerships that you seek from the individual African governments to ensure the kind of policies that will help make sure this is a success. So we heard from the HM of earlier about the zero duties. Now this makes a lot of difference in the bankability of these particular projects, and also helps reduce the risk. So that is one policy that is showcasing, you know, a country that is ready to really move the needle here. We have a similar policy actually in Nigeria as well, just to ensure that the amount of renewable power solutions coming on both mini-grid solar home systems and commercial industrial uses are optimized over the next few years. And the government has provided these duty waivers to ensure that we are able to increase our electrification rates quite aggressively. So with that being said, I think those are the main highlights of how to reduce risk. And then I think the last one to add is to have competent teams on ground that had live, breathe, and eat, you know, what we talk about in the DRE. So installing these, monitoring them, maintaining them, and finding ways to optimize in terms of the cost of execution. So when we talk about life cycle cost, teams that look at the life cycle cost of these businesses to make sure that the cost to the end user is the best cost that they can get. These are all the strategies necessary for risk mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kola. So, geographical diversification is an important risk mitigant. We hear it. And also optimizing costs in the operationalization. It's also a key one. Mr. Thomas Froschel from the World Bank. So we know the World Bank invested concessional capital into this Africa 50 DRE fund. But beyond the World Bank, more generally, how can DFIs best align the concessional resources with specialized vehicle like this one to maximize the impact that they can have in Africa and achieve the Mission 300 goal?
Thank you. Yep. Thank you very much. Look, I think in three ways, really. DFIs can align co-financing, they can line up guarantees, and they can do technical assistance alongside this. So on the co-financing, I think the principle is really layering. Concessional financing can absorb risk that commercial capital cannot, and in doing so, it can unlock investments into the DRE market. How to structure this, for example, in the way that IDA was structured within this fund. IDA concessional financing is lent directly to Africa 50 to be invested as concessional capital within the DRE fund. And in doing so, it improves the cost of capital and it enables it to reach smaller and higher risk markets. It's a similar principle was applied in the Zafiri Fund, where IDA concessional financing sits alongside African Development Bank financing, Rockefeller Foundation and Nordic Fund in a $300 million blended equity vehicle that targets up to $1 billion in capital DRE investments. So we can see that this also for DFIs is a huge leveraging mechanism for the concessional funds. Now guarantees are also another way in which DFIs can support these types of funds. And here I'll point to the way that MIGA, as part of the World Bank Group, has structured their guarantee platform, offering guarantees that can cover risks of different types of projects, be it CNI, IPPs, mini-grids, but in a platform that can be drawn on directly by specialized funds without having bespoke negotiations. And in that way, it reduces the transaction costs and accelerates the availability of these guarantees. Then there's technical assistance. And here I think there are really three ways in which DFIs can support the sector. First is in financing upstream studies that will help like a TA into tender preparation or least cost plans or other types of studies that help to prepare a pipeline of projects that can then and improve the quality of these projects, which is then needed for these types of equity vehicles to identify projects more rapidly. A second way is, and I think you mentioned this in your introduction, the policy reforms. Blended capital needs a predictable policy environment. And this is, as I was talking about yesterday, in the context of the Mission 300, the World Bank and African Development Bank have been signing national energy compacts with governments in which governments commit to a certain number of policy reforms, be it on tariffs, on licensing regulation, on utility governance, that can really provide the policy environment for these equity vehicles to be able to operate. And then if we move into, at the regional level, I think technical assistance from DFIs can really help in harmonizing regulatory regimes, standardizing licensing regulation, and in doing so they can help expand the addressable markets for regional equity funds and reduce also the country-by-country costs, entry costs. So all this is done, however, for one purpose, and these are the impacts. Right? I mean, DFI financing is disbursed against verified results. And I think in aligning their co-financing to these types of equity vehicles, co-investors like IDA and Africa 50 need to agree and align upfront on a results framework to ensure that the impacts that are being measured, that first of all, that this reduces the reporting burden if they're aligned along the same results framework, and also it can strengthen the credibility of these funds. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. So we heard the innovative financing or co-financing solutions, like the one you're doing through Africa 50 to provide concessional financing to the DRE fund, guarantees, and also technical assistance. So I hope all DFIs in the room hear the message. I'm just checking if we have a few minutes more, because we would like to hear back from our honorable ministers after everything we've heard from ISA, from the World Bank, from NSIA. So, Honorable Minister Dr. Jean, would you have any final words for the audience?
Thank you very much. Let me hasten to mention that in my earlier submission, I did not mention that Malawi has also made sure that we provide duty-free status for all renewable energy importations into the country, so that at least we attract the investors. Now, let me say that I cannot agree more with our President Mnangagwa for urging us to move from sitting in boardrooms to action. It is time that Africa does so. And let me commend ISA for leading by example. Thank you for the various interventions that you are bringing into the space, and thank you for the various initiatives that you are bringing into the space. So Africa DRI 50 is one of the very good initiatives that is going to help Africa actualize our ambitions. We've got our ambitions set, our goals set, and obviously energy is a key component. So we thank ISA for coming up with these initiatives. I think I can't say more, just to say thank you again to ISA, and thank you for bringing us all together to share notes, so that we bring some new ideas as we go back to our respective areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Matanga. Maybe the closing word, we will let His Excellency Mr. Cyril Grant to close the session with his final words.
Thank you. Something just popped into my head. I think when you look at the relationships, I think we have to, we're talking about access, we're talking about productive use, and we're talking about 600 million Africans. And I think one of the biggest issues that we have to face is, out of the 600 million Africans, we have 42 currencies. So when you're talking about financing, where the rubber meets the road is this issue of FX hedging and convertibility. All of these access points, these households that we are working to provide, are going to be paying back all of these tariffs in individual currencies. There are 42 currencies across Africa. So we hope that the instruments that ISA and Africa 50 are looking at can also address that issue that really hits at the heart of the transaction, where the rubber meets the road, the actual transaction. There's inflation, and in a lot of instances, a lot of these solar home systems or these mini grids, the investments that come in dollars or in euros, after about 2 or 3 years, if there's no instrument that hedges against the payment systems, then you find the developers are going to be in default and in problems. So we have to think, I mean, apart from areas like in West Africa, we're thinking of a single currency, but there are areas where you have these 42 currencies that are just floating all over the place that have no real weight behind them. And so we have to really think about that as that being the real key to the success of all of this investment that has to come in to make the lives of all the African people in the rural areas, which is where the access is better.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. We take note of the point on the currency, and our understanding is also that the Africa 50 DRE Fund, sponsored by ISA, is planning to launch specific country facilities where a local currency element will be involved. So on these final words, I would like to thank again our panelists and thank the full audience for your attention. Thank you very much.
Good morning, delegates. Now, in continuation to the previous sessions which we had on the Africa Solar Facilities, we will extend it by another half an hour, and where we will discuss how the Africa Solar Facility can be used for creating the solarization of agriculture across Africa. And for this, I'll have a small presentation, but before that, I would like to invite the speakers on the dais. So, we will have in this panel His Excellency Mr. July Moyo, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Energy and Power Development, Zimbabwe. Then we'll have Mr. Tony Imadua, Principal Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Climate, Energy and Natural Resources, Seychelles. And a representative from UN Women, Mr. Simbarase Moyo, Team Lead, Women's Economic Empowerment. So I invite all the three dignitaries to come on the dais. In the meantime, you can set up the presentation. Okay, fine. So, my apologies. So, Honorable Mr. Moyo has gone to the airport to receive the Her Excellency First Lady. But we would have Mr. Tony Imadua. Okay, while they, Mr. Imadua joins, let me begin with my presentation so that I can set you the context. So, when we talk of the agriculture and the productive use in Africa, so the proposition of ISA is very simple. The solar water pumping should not be viewed simply as a renewable energy intervention. The real question should not be that how many pumps have been installed. The real question should be that what impact it has created, how much irrigation it has facilitated, how it has helped create more cropping patterns, more helping the farmers to earn additional income, and how it is strengthening the food security. That is the questions that should be addressed, not that how many millions of the pumps we have. Though, obviously it starts with a number that we need to have a target, but the objective of that installation of those many of the pumps is essentially to strengthen the farmers, essentially to strengthen the entire agriculture sector. So with that, I would say, and in Africa, the starting point is not the land constraint, or you have the absence of the sunlight. Essentially, it is a question of the control of water. How do you manage the water which is available with you? So there, as you can see that we have abundant land available, we have abundant sunshine, but we do not have the water control on the water. When I say you do not have control on the water, it means that most of the irrigation is rain-fed. And if the irrigation is rain-fed, it means you are dependent on the water available during that period. So the entire cropping pattern and the cropping cycle is dependent on that particular season. So instead of having the productions for all 12 months, you are constrained only for 4 months or 5 months. And this unpredictability and the unreliability doesn't give the confidence to the farmers, that they can get into a very different crop cycles. So what will this solar energy can do? This can create that reliability, this can create that certainty amongst the farmers, and they can plan for the multi-season cropping. That will boost that will generate the additional source of income to the farmers, and that will ultimately give the desired confidence to the farmers. And when this change happens, in the production certainty, when you create the reliability in the production certainty, then obviously the investment risk also reduces. So, but then how do we view this change which we are planning? That should it be through a number of pumps? I think the way it should not be on the unit of measurement should not be on the kilowatt hour which you have installed. That is important. Mr. Imadu, please. But I would rate that the additional cropping cycle, if you can create, that is the measuring unit it should be. So instead of measuring only the kilowatt hour, we should see that whether it is able to create the additional crop cycle. Solar energy just creates, or the starting point. Yesterday we heard Mr. Thomas from Celco, he said that solar energy is an enabler for the different outcomes. So value chain begins with the solar energy, but it does not end at the kilowatt hour, I would say. Again, I'm emphasizing. It should create the irrigation on demand. In somewhere you can have without a storage, you don't need to add over a tank, but you can have the irrigation on demand during the daytime. That will create more crop cycles, and that will ultimately lead to the higher income for the farmers, and that will be ultimate result will be the resilient food supply. That will reduce the food import of the different countries. So in nutshell, what should we measure? We should measure the cropping intensity, you should measure the crop yield, you should measure the farmer income uptime, the water productivity, and the service. So these are the things which we need to measure when we talk of the programs on the irrigations. But still, even if you do this one, does it mean that automatically the farmers would adopt it? Probably no, because the smallholders can still not find it affordable. Solar energy has or solar PV plants or solar water pumps has a high upfront cost. So it doesn't mean that automatically if you have a good lifetime economics, it makes any sense for the smallholder farmers, and that's the majority of the farmers are in most of the developing countries. But how we can help or how through the Africa Solar Facilities and the other programs ISA can support, or the scheme, any country scheme should target is that how we can convert the recurring operating expenditure done through the diesel pumps into the upfront capital. Because the diesel brings the fuel price volatility, the foreign exchange risk, you have the fuel logistics is a major challenge which all of us are facing in today's time, and this creates also a very high maintenance burden, though the upfront cost of the diesel is small. And that is where we need to intervene, we need to design the program where we can make we can convert this economics of the operating economics of the diesel into the high upfront, to meet the high upfront capital cost. And our target should be that how do we make the smallholder affordable, or they should be willing to go for the solar pumps. So that is where I say that the national program should need an investment architecture rather than only the pump procurement alone. So what could be the investment structure at the national program level? So when we say, generally we are not recommending that you should go only for the pump procurement standalone. That will not probably solve the real issues which lying at the root, the affordability issues as well. And that's where the pump should not be the unit of the planning only. What should be the unit of the planning for agriculture is the farm, is the agricultural land. That should be the unit. How many additional hectares have been irrigated? That is important. How are we increasing the yield of those crops? That is important. And these things will decide, because normally we have seen, when we are interacting with the many countries, including India, most of the procurement specification starts with, I need 5 HP pump or 10 HP pump or 20 HP pump, 200 pumps, 500 pumps, 10,000 pumps. This is important for the supplier or the vendor to assess. But in our scheme, there should be a design that there should be that what water you want, what is your daily demand of the water? What is the total dynamic head, total head? What is your hydraulic conditions? What is the solar irradiance? Because in the solar pump, in the morning you will have a lesser irradiance, during the midday you have a highest irradiance, and again the evening it peaks. And that will help you to decide that whether you require any storage or over a tank, or you want just a day-based irrigations. So these are the things which is requirement of the investment structure when I say. So when you start with the farm, then you talk about the crop area, the water need, the source, yield, TDH, irrigation methods, the drip irrigation or a sprinkler or surface gravity irrigations. This is important to be planned in this one. Then important part is the delivery model. How do you want to deliver it? Through it, only the farmer ownership, individual farmer ownership, through the cooperatives. I would recommend, in the smallholder farmers, there could be a program of the Cisco. When I say Cisco, means basically it's a irrigation as a service. So that is the model. In the energy, you might have heard ESCO. Yesterday we heard from the Honorable Minister from Gambia. They had SESCO, SESCO. They have created that company, which is developing the solar rooftop for schools, healthcare. And that is an entity which is managing those 2 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt, 100 kilowatt solar water facilities on those buildings. Can we have that model where some entity, be it the private, mostly the private, because now we have the Africa solar facilities where this private entity can bank upon, that can be thought of. So these are the models which we should think of. We should aggregate the demands instead of having the 10, 20, 100, 200, 500. If we can create a scale of 10,000, 20,000, that gives the supplier, the vendor, the confidence to reduce the price and do the good design. On the allocation of the risks, we need to also, we cannot go on giving 80-90% subsidies from the government and scale the programs. Every country has a limited resources, public finance. So we need to see that where we should target those subsidies, how we can do it. Concessional capital, then we can bring those guarantees, the farmer contributions. Now, in the farmer contributions, as I said, even if your farmer has to upfront pay, let's say $100 or $200, or a $400, probably many of the smallholder farmers will not be able to do that. Can we create some model? Maybe a model where we can say that fine, these entities of a Cisco model, they are recovering only $2 a month from each farmer, but for longer durations, let's say for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. And that Cisco is being supported by the public finance for the low interest, the debt. So if you can, we need to think of those kind of investment architecture. So, but then if we talk about the investment architecture, the question is that who is able to participate in that program? Are we including everyone, or are we including some particular sections there? And that is where I'm saying, because even if you design a good program, it doesn't mean that inclusion from the different sections, because like I had been to Gambia and I visited 6 community gardens, and almost all community gardens were owned by or operated by all women. So are they included in that scheme? Is the financing, is the subsidies, is the debt programs, is targeted for those women, the weaker sections, the youth? Because most of the time, the bankers would require the land should be made as a collateral. Most of these people will not have the land rights in their name. I mean, in Gambia, we experienced this. We exchanged, the women were saying that the land is not in their name. Bank is not willing to give without the land title. So how can we create that? Because seasonal income is then irregular seasonal income. I mean, the one instance I give you from Gambia is that, and very interesting, they produce a lot, tomatoes and other things, but only for those one season, 4 months or 5 months. And incidentally, they produce so much that either it gets wasted or it is purchased by the neighboring country at a smaller price. And then when the Gambia needs it, they export it back to Gambia at a higher price. This is a double whammy for those women. Imagine the plight of those women. They have produced, they have put their labor, and they get a lesser price, and the country pays a higher price again at the second time. So what can change that access? Can it be a group or cooperative ownership? As I said, irrigation as a service or Cisco, seasonal payments, we can have the harvesting linked payments. So I would say that a program can be called technically successful when it widens the inclusivity. So with this, I will start now. I will ask the panel, the 3 panelists here, to challenge certain assumptions, which goes into the program design. So we have the representative from the Seychelles, from Zimbabwe, and we have representative from the women. Let me start with the Seychelles, or it would be good if I can start from the UN women, right? That will be good because I ended with the inclusivity. So let me start with him. So I'll just allow me. I have created a question for you, and that would be good for the audiences to understand. But in the meantime, if the audience has any questions, you can raise to the panelist while I am fetching the right questions for him. All right? Please, anyone, any volunteer? Okay, so then I would ask, so tell me, how would you assess, how would you challenge these assumptions that a technology neutral program becomes inclusive automatically? Do you feel that if a program is designed where we have covered the debt, equity, a good program of 1,000 pumps, but does it mean that it becomes automatically inclusive, particularly with respect to the women?
Thank you, moderator, for that question. And sincere greetings from the country representative of UN Women who could not make it to the summit. Excellencies, captains of industry, within the context of Zimbabwe, just as a segue to the question that has been asked, we have a program that is called the Joint Renewable Energy Program. And the purpose of that program is to catalyze gender-responsive investments in the energy sector. And it's really directly trying to address some of the bottlenecks and in the process challenge the assumptions that if we are not intentional, if we are not deliberate in our design and in our action for different programs, then benefits will just trickle to everybody. Our position is that if we are to make it in terms of inclusion, in terms of impact that translates to everybody, we have to be intentional in our design and in our actions as they relate to the programs that we set up. Impact is not by default, but by design and action. And also, in the event that you forget everything that we will say today, hopefully you also remember that equality means business. It could be for youth, it could be for women that are targeted as service users in the programs that we put together. For example, data shows that women represent the 1.7 trillion underserved financing market. And that's a major untapped resource that every investor in the room should also begin to think about. If we look at why this should matter, you see that capital that reaches women farmers can also be a part of core business strategy and not necessarily charity or corporate social responsibility. And still on that, partnerships, these are very key. Business cannot do it alone. You need a lens, maybe from a social development perspective. Government cannot also do it alone. So public-private partnerships like the Joint Renewable Energy Program, which is working to mobilize 100 million through successive capital calls, which benefits different independent power producers, including women, becomes also something that is demonstrable. So bringing together the governments, financiers, and development partners would be one of the most efficient ways of actually having inclusive, sustainable impact, because this has to be intentional and this has to be by design. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me move to the Principal Secretary Seychelles. How do you think these solar irrigation programs should be designed more from the point of view of creating the investable pipelines for a small island countries? What is your thoughts? How can we design that one?
Thank you, moderator, for the question. I think it's important for first of all, for me to set the context of Seychelles. Seychelles is very different from many of the countries on the African continent. We are a very small island state with limited land resources, no domestic fuel resources, and a power system that remains heavily dependent on imported fossil fuel. So for us, scale is a huge problem. So what we are really looking at is really how do we bring together all of these various projects into one aggregated sort of project pipeline that we can really put it out there that makes it possible for investors to attract investors to come in. So it's not really looking at solar irrigation system as we have, but also looking at all the other projects that revolves around renewable energy. How can we package that into one complete project pipeline that we can put out there? A bit like we've seen yesterday from our neighbor Mauritius, who's actually even much bigger than us, has also used the same approach of aggregating this number of projects. So to have the enough scale to make it attractive and help us in attractive, good rate for it.
Just a follow-up question on that. So what I understand, what you're saying is that not only from the irrigation point of view, but the entire value chain around the agriculture. So it is productive use with the milling, harvesting, all those things put together, and then we should create a program. Is that what you are referring to?
Yeah, when we talk about productive uses, we heard today and yesterday that for Africa is mostly looking at agriculture. But for small island state like Seychelles, productive uses can take different form. So for example, solar energy can support water production, desalination, fishery, cold chain infrastructure, tourism, small and medium enterprise, public services, and other economic activities. So for us is really aggregating these various uses of renewable energy, in particular solar energy, and in order to help us reduce in terms of the costs associated with that, and more importantly for Seychelles, moving towards that, improve our resilience and also our energy security when it comes to fossil fuel.
Okay, thank you. And since I'm conscious of the time, so just the last questions to the representative from Zimbabwe. In my presentations, I share that most of the programs currently is being run through the subsidies program, right? The government tries to give the subsidy of 80–90%. At the same time, there is another extreme where we say that each farmer should own a pump. So, as a country, what is your view? I mean, should government continue to subsidize these programs to 80–90% and to individual each farmers, or you would prefer that the model should be the community owned or the cooperative owned or irrigation as a service to take care of the affordability issues of the farmers?
Thank you, moderator. I'm Dr. Sostes Roko, the Director for Renewable Energy in the Ministry. And I'm essentially here on behalf of the Honorable Minister who has taken leave to go to the airport. So the context for Zimbabwe is that agriculture has traditionally been the backbone of our economy. It supplied the inputs that are needed in the manufacturing industry and other sectors of the economy. We're also known as the breadbasket of Southern Africa because of that. In the last 3 years, we actually have been able to be self-sufficient in terms of wheat production, because traditionally we have been importing wheat from across the seas, but we have an agricultural program that involves irrigation, which is supported by government, that has assisted us to be self-sufficient in that regard. Our rainfall pattern is actually seasonal. We have dry winters and wet summers. Because of that, we need to do a lot of irrigation during the dry winter season. And our view is that during the National Development Strategy 2 that runs from 2026 to 2030, government is aiming to do what are called village business units. These are targeted community solar irrigation schemes covering about 36,000 villages across the country. So these are supported by government on a community-based perspective. But for individual farmers, it is possible for people to approach our banks. We have a bank responsible for agriculture where they can take loans and be supported on an individual basis. So to answer your question, it's a combination of both, where for community-based projects, particularly those targeting women and youth, are partly funded by government, but for private individuals, then it's possible for them to have solar pumps and other energy equipment that comes on a loan basis.
Thank you. So I think since we are running short of time, and we are already delayed by around 10 minutes, and we have another sessions coming in after 10 minutes of break. So I would conclude these sessions. Thank you to all the panelists. And again, I would reiterate, I would conclude that we should be planning the solar irrigation program to make it more investable. And as a continent, we don't have the lack of land or lack of the solar resources, but we need to create a program which can take care of the control of the water to increase the cropping season, and which will increase the farmers' income, and the program should be more inclusive. Thank you. Thank you all.
1 2 1 2 1 2. One, two, 1 2. One, two. One, two. One, two. One, two. Check 1 2. Yeah, testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Yes.
Check 1, testing 1. Check this, check. Check 1, check. Check this, check.
One, two. Yeah, 1 2.
Tapio. Switch on 2 mics. Switch on the main one. That one. Oh dear.
Yeah, 1 2. yeah, 1, 2, yeah, 2, 2, yeah. Two, yeah, 2, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. 1, 2, testing. Yeah, 1, 2. 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. Yeah. Testing, 1, 2. Two, yeah, 1, 2.
So good morning, delegates, once again. May I have your attention, please? Please take your seats. Presentations, they are gonna. Presentations. Delegates, may I have your attention, please? This is an important announcement. We are having a site visit to the Victoria Falls starting at 1400 hours. And for that, you need to register yourself in the room Kolunda, right, at the reception. So we will finishing it off by around 12:30. These sessions will be completed by 11:30 or 12:30 or 12:45, and post that, those who want to go to Victoria Falls, please register yourself. Okay, so let me begin with the last sessions of the RCM, and this is very interesting. I'm sure you will find it very interesting. This is on the electric mobility and the battery storage. Before I start setting the context, and this will be a panel discussions, we have the, the two country representing and the 3 private sector participations. So this will be very interesting conversations. But before we start, I'd like to give you a context that ISA has prepared a point of view that how the global south, particularly the Africa and the other developing countries, should pursue the electric mobility journey. Because we cannot follow the same path as the OECD countries have done on the electric mobility side, or the China has done. So it has to be separate pathway, but the same destinations. So on that, we will be releasing a complete paper on the upcoming assembly in India on 2nd and 3rd November. But today, we will be giving you a teaser of that point of view for 90 seconds, and then we will start the panel discussions. So can we have the video, please?
The future of mobility is electric. The question is no longer whether it will happen, but how. Electric car sales have crossed 20 million a year. Battery costs are falling. Countries are setting ambitious zero-emission targets. But the global EV story has largely been built around passenger cars, home charging, and high-income consumers. For much of the global south, the biggest opportunity lies elsewhere: two-wheelers, three-wheelers, buses, and high-use fleets. But vehicles alone cannot deliver the transition. Public charging and grid readiness will be critical to making electric mobility work. For solar-rich countries, a powerful opportunity is also emerging, connecting electric mobility with solar energy and storage. But the transition must be affordable, financeable, grid-ready, and linked to jobs, inclusion, and development. The destination is the same: zero-emission mobility. The pathway can be different.
Thank you. So, as we have seen in this video, that destination is same, but the pathway has to be different. And why pathway has to be different? Because Africa or the global south is not having the same vehicle segments or same economic conditions or same mobility conditions. So while the destination would remain same to remain zero emission, but you need to find a different route. The route which will reflect how the people move, how electricity system operates, and how mobility is financed. Since these requirements are different for different countries, we need to have a different pathways for that one. So this is a consultations, or this is a presentations to just give you a glimpse that what our point of view is about the electric mobility transitions. Now, the first reason why Africa should have a different pathway is that we are still making the mobility choices. When I say that we are still making a mobility choices, can I have the presentation, please? So when we say that we are making the mobility choices, what exactly do I mean? In Africa, you still have less than 30 registered vehicles per 1,000 people. And this I'm talking about across much of the sub-Saharan Africa. Whereas the urban population is rising from 700 million to 1.4 billion. That is the estimated urban populations. And then 23% of the average fuel is import. Now, what does it mean? It means that the fleet, your fueling infrastructure, and the urban form of the future are still being built. We have still not built the infrastructure for the fueling. We have still not evolved in a stage where you have the urban form of the mobility is already decided. So this is an interesting time when we, and already the mobility is getting changed across the globe. So this is the time when we need to make a strategic choice that should we build the next wave of mobility around petroleum, or should it be around domestically produced electricity through solar and the storage? That's a strategic choice which will give the country the energy security, a better urban air quality, the productive mobilities, and also the industrial opportunities. So if this is the window to us, the next question is that then which vehicle segment should we start with? And that's where we strongly believe, the ISR's point of view recommends that it should not start with the passenger cars. The passenger cars probably would be the wrong first choice to start with. The most of the bulk of the mobility happens in Africa, or most of the developing countries, are on two-wheelers, three-wheelers, followed by the public transport of the buses and the minibuses. So what we should start with is to electrify two-wheelers, to electrify three-wheelers, the fleets. That is the priority, that should be the priority of a country in Africa. So Africa can lead with the two-wheeler, three-wheelers, buses and the commercial fleets without necessarily lowering your zero emission targets, because this is creating the bulk of the emissions. But then, does this segment create one market? That's another question. What we believe that Africa has essentially two different markets, segments. So you have a fragmented earning assets, we call it. So where most of the people using the three-wheelers and the two-wheelers, they are going to their daily lives, meeting their day-to-day required needs. And then you have an organized fleets or the buses, which is owned by the entities as well. So these are the two different segments which needs to be addressed. You know, when we decide a strategic choice that what should we do on the mobility front. So in the fragmented side, you have motorcycles, three-wheelers, shared taxis, small logistics. And the organized side, you have the buses, minibuses, delivery fleets, municipal and the ride-hailing fleets. So the one national target, it means, will not be substituting the segment-specific deployment programs. You need to develop different programs for that one. So what does it mean? It means energy architecture, energy infrastructure must be equally differentiated across these two segments. And what exactly do I mean? As we are promoting more and more solar, we are trying to develop more and more solar, it should come with the storage as well, because the solar and the storage will change the cost and the reliability dimensions of this one. So there are three elements of the solarizations on the mobility side. One is the grid-connected solar. But grid-connected solar is where it is the best fit case. It is for the larger format vehicle segment, like the buses. You know, you have the large depots where you can deploy the utility scale or the large solar scale grid-connected. Then behind the meter, that is, is best fit for your fleets and the swap stations, the battery swapping stations. And I mean, yesterday, in fact, I was reading a news that one of the Indian companies, the Sun Mobility, has done a partnership and they started their battery swapping operations in Kenya. That battery swapping stations, or for the two-wheelers and three-wheelers, this becomes a fundamental interesting use case for Africa as well. Because behind the meter, you have high utilizations, you have the bankable solars, and the fleets, the swapping stations consumes a lot of energy. So that gives the viability front to the behind the meter scene. And the off-grid and the mini-grid solutions on the mobility side is where you have weak grid. If you don't have a strong grid, there definitely you need to go for an off-grid or the mini-grid solutions for that one, or under-serviced areas. So those are the three segments of the solar and the storage which can be considered. But now, even if, let's say, make these TCO basis, the total cost of ownership basis, economical, does it become affordable? Because affordability is another question, because acquiring the vehicle upfront is very, very costly. So how do we do then? Now, if we see here, your affordability will be ultimately deciding the winner, who would be the winner. So you have now the vehicle batteries, you have depot charging site base or the grid scale, because the storage we have to create the, and because the same battery can service the different storage need. Now, at this point, I would like to invite my colleague Mridula at the stage. Mridula, please. So she will take us through the storage element, that how do we take care of the, or how do we plan for creating a good battery storage So while she is coming, for any mobilities, the important is the grid, because grid is what we call it the hidden foundations for the charging. If you do not have a strong grid, because that will decide that whether we should have depot-based charging or whether we should have the microgrid. But even if you have a depot-based charging, you need to have a strong grid which can take care of. Mridula, please come. So, because ultimately that will decide that who owns the risks and who pays when the power ultimately arrives. So, I will now hand it over to Mridula for taking us through the battery side. You can speak from here.
A very good afternoon, everyone. The stage and context is already set by my colleague, Avdeshji. Now we are talking about the integration of renewables, electric vehicles, and storage. Now, each of these are kind of linked because you cannot see them in isolation. They are interdependent. Now, talking about the storage part, there are three things that we need to, consider. First of all, we need to see the technologies which are already at high TRL or technology readiness level. For example, if you see the left side deploy at scale column, we have lithium-ion battery energy storage system, pumped hydro. These are the technologies which are already at very high technology readiness level, and then we have to deploy them at scale to strengthen the grid. Then the second one is system use related to these. Because they are already at commercial stage, we have to find out the use case or application of these, whether they are peak management or a time of use shifting, fast response. So those are the things we need to make our strategy about. And the third is the country move. The country has to develop the standards, they have to develop the safety codes, because many of you know lithium-ion battery, for example, is explosive, and then you need to have the safety protocol in place and have the capacity building in that respect as well when we talk about deployment at large scale. Similarly, for demonstrative category, we have little lower technology readiness level. Storage systems like flow batteries, sodium ion, they are almost there, but not really at the level where lithium ion and battery, other pumped hydro and all are placed. So for that, you have to have the specific cycling, temperature, duration, industrial requirements in place and make the strategy according to it. And how the country moves, you have to have measured pilots, because you need to have the pilots, performance data collection, see how the whole thing is unfolding in terms of going to the higher level of technology readiness, manufacturing readiness, and also commercial readiness. And the third one is long duration options, because we need all kind of storage options, not just short and medium, but the grid has to be supported by different technologies at different time scales. And that's where the long duration options come, where you talk about seasonal shift, wider spectrum balancing needs, and there we need to talk about resource studies, R&D partnership, and infrastructure planning. And now we are actually in the middle of doing a strategy paper or position paper for Government of India. We are looking at different technologies, different implementation strategiges, different, implementation organization structure, and also deployment, large-scale deployment and industry partnership. And with this, we have developed a roadmap of immediate, that is 2027, short-term, 2035, middle term, 2047, and long-term, 2070. That's where India has the net zero targets. So we have built the roadmap of this India, keeping in mind technologies, institutions, markets, and also the financial instruments. So that's how we support our member country, and we are very much welcoming, if any other country wants this kind of strategy paper with ISA, collaboration, we will be more than happy to do it. We can apply the architecture to EV charging, solar firming, mini grids, weak grid resilience, and also energy access. Is that you? Or, yeah. Over to you, Avdeshji.
Thank you, Mridula. This is, from the mobility point of view, if we see that we have, I mean, my assessment is that used vehicles are central to African mobilities. A lot of used vehicles are being purchased, and electric mobility, this entirely depends upon the battery health. So what is important is that if we can create a trust in that second-hand batteries or the used batteries, and that is where you need to create the design, you know, you need to have the systems where it can verify, reuse those batteries, and at the end it can be recycled. So this entire systems can be designed around that one. So if we now this is one study which ISA had done a couple of years back, that was for readiness of the ecosystems for the electric mobility across the Africa countries, basis the technology, business, and policy readiness. And this is available, and we will be happy to you know, assess for any country's readiness. But what I would suggest, I mean, at the end, what I would see that we should, like in the solar water pump, I was recommending that we should not be counting only the number of pumps installed. Similarly, here also, it should not be only the EV sales count, that how many million of EV we have sold. That is useful, but not complete. So there, the outcome should be how much oil we have displaced in terms of the forex savings, then the infrastructure. Do we have the adequate charging infrastructure, or we have the grid readiness for that one? We have the inclusion, you know, that is an important parameters there. Cost per passenger kilometer, that is an important element, that it should become affordable, that mobility cost should come down, and it should be more and more renewable energy driven. There is no point in driving the electric mobility through the fossil fuel, and how the private finance, how much private finance is being mobilized. So that is something what is we need to do it. And at this stage now, I would like to bring, I'd like to invite Mr. Gaten on the stage. Mr. Gaten, take us through, and then parallelly I will invite the panelists. So I will invite, well, he'll prepare his presentation. So please put up the second presentation. Yeah, you can come here.
Oh, that's the one from Solomon.
No, not this one.
Not this one.
No,
no, I have none.
Oh, you don't have?
No.
So no presentation is there, please.
No, we'll see that one later. Thank you very much for this very comprehensive introduction. I think what's very important is to find solutions for electromobility that suit African countries, not a copy of what has been done elsewhere. And taking into account the fact that it's not only a technical question, it's also a social and economic question that has to be solved when we're discussing about mobility. So when we are discussing about mobility, we are discussing about indeed two-wheelers, three-wheelers, cars, buses, and it's a question that we will ask to representatives from Liberia and Burkina Faso after. What are the priorities? And what are the priorities for you? What do you want to achieve by electrifying mobility? And we all think about electromobility as just putting a battery into a motorbike, a three-wheeler, a car, a bus, or whatever. It can go one step further. We can electrify long-term transport. We can use green ammonia. We can use solar electricity to make sure that at some point we'll reduce the cost of long-term transport as well. And there is one point I would like to insist on. It's the social aspect and the economic aspect. In many countries, the richest families but also the wealthiest companies are dealing with fossil fuels. And this is something very, very important to consider psychologically in the shift to electric mobility. On the island especially, we have seen a reluctance, not only in Africa, everywhere in the world, to shift towards electric mobility, very often for these economic and social reasons. It's something extremely important to consider before engaging into electric mobility. It's who are going to be the people negatively impacted by this shift and how to manage that. Because it's the key to a successful transition towards electromobility. Electromobility can also be something extremely complex. We will see later that Africa has the potential for basically getting rid of almost completely fossil fuels in terms of transport, for developing its own industry in a certain number of fields related to electromobility. It will be complex, it will take time, it will require partnerships. And that's why it's so attractive, I think, to look at what is done in India these days. And one thing that will be really important in terms of training of people, in terms of creating skills, it's a totally new set of skills which are necessary to manage electromobility, and especially things related to battery swapping. I've seen cases in numerous countries where the management of batteries led to explosion, fire, disaster, simply because people were not trained. And here we are going to multiply dramatically the number of battery used. But at the end, and electromobility, thanks powered by solar, cannot be disconnected from the energy transition itself. Both might encourage each other and support each other. And I'm giving you a very simple example. Every kilowatt hour invested in a battery that can be swapped, if it's in a two-wheeler, a three-wheeler, a bus or whatever, is a battery that doesn't have to be paid for the grid. So it's possible to optimize cost and use electromobility as a way to strengthen grids and to accelerate the development of solar. And that's something very, very important to be considered. I will not talk too much because we have very interesting, distinguished speakers. And I look forward to the rest of this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I would like to now invite on the stage His Excellency Mr. Charles Umahi, Minister from Liberia. His Excellency, please come on the dais. Then Ms. Kabobe Gladys, Director of Renewable Energy from Burkina Faso. Then Ms. Phoebe from Energy Transition Commission. Mr. Nyaku Sendua from Renewable Energy Association, Zimbabwe. And Mr. Geoffrey Kiniti Mburu. Is he here? No. Okay. So then let me begin with the panel discussions. So we have three, moderate. Phoebe, why don't you? Okay, so without any, because we have to be very quick. So this is a questions to all panelists, except for Midula and Mr. Gaten, because we are not the panelists. We are facilitating the sessions. So what we have proposed, and our proposition is that Africa should not simply replicate the passenger car-led, EV transition, what we have seen in the advanced economies. it should begin with the mobility segments where electrification can deliver the greatest economic and development benefits. My questions to all the three panelists. Do you agree with this, and where do you think Africa should begin? And very, very quick, 60 seconds or maximum 90 seconds. Yeah, Phoebe, you can start.
Hello, it's really lovely to meet all of you. I'm Phoebe, I'm from the Energy Transition Commission. We're a global organization of 60 corporates working towards reducing global emissions, and I'm technically hired by Systemic. I don't know if any of you know Systemic, but it's really lovely to meet you all and incredible to be here. The contribution that the ETC made was to ISA's Solarizing Africa report. We wrote the e-mobility structure in there. And I would point all of you to the archetype analysis that we did in there. I think that's the best example of what we believe is possible on the continent for e-mobility. For us, the two key questions that we really emphasize that need to be looked at is A, what is your grid reliability? And B, what kind of capital do you need? Those two elements will determine what kind of e-mobility pursuit you can do. And I know I have a very short amount of time. The other second thing that we would really consider is if there are fossil fuel subsidies in place, that will essentially undercut any benefit from electric mobility. So there are questions there on potentially redirecting fossil fuel subsidies to kick-charge electric mobility uptake and the benefits that that would achieve. We see from the work that we did in Kenya and across many other countries, interviews, research, there are market, economic, health, security benefits towards electric mobility, but it takes a lot of political will to recognize that. So all of that needs to be bundled up. And I will finish by saying the ETC would love to work with any of you on this. We do a lot of work across all of these sectors with strategy. So please do get in touch. I have to run out for a flight, but it was lovely to meet you all and to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Thank you very much. I'm Isaiah Nyakusendwa from Zimbabwe, Renewable Energy Association. I think the points that you have highlighted in your presentations are very key as to where do we start.
Yes.
In our case as a country, it's a unique situation. Unfortunately, we don't like two-wheelers as a country.
Okay.
It's a culture that we have as a country where I think our women don't like to ride two-wheelers. But we have seen uptake in three-wheelers,
okay,
right? And three-wheelers linked to productive uses, health, education. So introducing those in areas where there is no mode of transport brings in economic benefits. So farmers are able to take produce to their markets, and also the business models in that for battery swapping have also, encouraged that. However, some of the handicaps become more of the policies to upscale. Like, for example, changing the regulations not to treat three-wheelers as
we will come more on details, but then at this stage you are saying that three-wheeler is something where we should start.
Yeah, and the other thing is obviously the issue of taking into account who will be impacted.
Okay.
Like in our country, the issue is we have.
Let's be with your points, okay, because we will come. So, director.
Okay, merci bien.
Thank you very much. I'm going to make this coming in the name of because he's having difficult. We have already this thematic. It is a moment very important that we have engaged ourselves in a transition. We dispose from solar potential. In the same time, we increase our economies. Our economies are already exposed to the fossil fuel. There is a response to those problems. We can have problem with non-facturations and potential soil, and the strengthening of our resilience by this opportunity led us to one question. If we electrify our transport, how can we produce and stock and have storage? That is where all the problem occurred for this mobility session. As
you feel you should start with? You will have the opportunity to answer many questions, but then at this stage, because we have a paucity of time, which segment you feel? Two-wheeler, three-wheelers, battery swapping? What should be the priority to begin with? The one line.
Okay.
Thank you. For our country, we can start, many people start with two wheels. This is the most used means of transport that we will think about the common transport.
So I'll come to Honorable Minister to you while you will address these questions, but then since I have a next question also scheduled for you, so I'll add that question, then you can take, So Honorable Minister, so if, apart from that, if Liberia were to select one priority segment for electrifications, right? Motorcycles, three-wheelers, public buses, government fleets, commercial vehicles, which segment would you choose and what national problem would it solve for you?
Okay, a pleasant good morning to everyone. My name is Charles Umahai, and I'm the Minister responsible for energy in Liberia. Firstly, I must say that we cannot agree less with Issa. We totally believe that impacts can be made in the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers. Reasons are, normally you don't grow food in the city. You don't grow vegetables, crops, and everything. You do that in the villages, in the rural sectors. And for my country, Liberia, I must state that due to the bad road infrastructure, these two-wheelers and three-wheelers have been very, very helpful and supportive in bringing farm to the markets, bringing products and goods to the country. So for us in Liberia, the first point will be the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers, because that sector has been heavily put into use in the rural sectors where we do have citizens trying to make livelihoods, and also where women use that as a, unlike my brother from Zimbabwe, our women specialize in the two-wheelers, and it's amazing the way they make maximum use of it in Liberia to get their goods and their services to the market. So yes, we will invest heavily, but another thing we should take in consideration is that these African solutions, African problems can be solved through African solutions. First of all, as a government and as a policy maker, we need to firstly create that enabling environment, draft policies that support these initiatives to help the private sectors come into your country. So for Liberia, definitely that's the trend we'll go with, the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers, and also create that enabling environment through policy regulations and policy modifications to support that. Thank you.
Excellent. So you talk about the two-wheeler, three-wheelers, and the enabling policy regulatory environment as well. So now, as a follow-up to this, what should come first to develop the EV market in, let's say, in a country like Liberia? Would you like to set an EV target to, give the momentum, or you would give the fiscal incentive first, or you feel that you require to build the charging infrastructure, because across the world we are facing this issue that whether the charging should come first or the vehicle should come first. This is a chicken and egg story is being repeated. Or do you think that no, there has to be a national level, private sector led procurement or for the charging infrastructure of the vehicles? Which, as a minister, would you like to set a priority first?
Okay, thank you on that. Fortunately for Liberia, we have a president who's far-sighted, and he took that initiative by creating the incentives. Our president issued an executive order which supports all imports of renewable energy, renewable products into Liberia should be duty-free. That's the first thing he did. So if you are coming into Liberia as an investor, or you're trying to go into the renewable energy market, you have that incentive sitting there already waiting for you, duty-free for all your products. So for us, that is the first step the president took. The second step will be going into where the market is heavy, which is the two-wheelers and the three-wheelers. That sector, you tend to see commercial activities moving towards the area where these activities are more, where you see more two-wheelers, and you tend to see makeshift gas stations. So with that, those makeshift gas stations, you can introduce charging stations that also follow the trend of those commercial activities. So yes, go first with the incentives, create that environment that we always talk about, encourage the private sector to come in, and after that, you roll out the other aspect of it, which is providing commercial, government cannot do it alone, whereby you get commercial investors into the country, and you can do partnership with them and set the right regulatory framework going.
Excellent, good. So I think what we hear is that you don't have to start the whole hog with the entire setting of a target only, but you can start using the existing infrastructure, like you suggested, the makeshift gas stations can be converted into charging stations, and you could create a policies or environment which can ultimately lead to the investment. Before I move to the next panelist, which Mridula would ask that questions, but then let me conclude with the Honorable Minister. If you take all these steps, how would you measure your success? Would you measure your success by number of vehicles sold or two-wheelers sold? Or would you measure the success that we have created so many charging infrastructure, or we have disbursed so much of the subsidies towards the incentive programs, or it has improved the air quality, or it has created jobs? What would be your measure of success?
Okay, firstly, our first measure of success would be to look at our fossil fuel inputs as a country. If our utility corporation that does the importation and the commercial guys that used to import so many million metric tons of diesel and HFO, I mean diesel and gasoline, tend to reduce that, we know that is one measure of our success. If you tend to go to the gas stations and see lesser and lesser vehicles line up for gasoline or diesel, that is a measure of our success. If you also go to the EV charging stations and see that you tend to see more and more two-wheelers being placed there for charging, that also is a measure of success. So it comes in both ways. You have to understand that with the air quality studies and everything, that will take over a period of time, but the immediate success that will be visible is the one you see where your country can do without huge importation of fossil fuel and tend to go more into EV stations.
Okay. Thank you. Since we have the Honorable First Lady arrived, and they would require this dais also, so we will conclude in 10 minutes. So over to you, Mridula, if you can have one questions to the chairman of the Renewable Energy Association, and then Getan, you can have one question to the director.
Sure. My question is to Mr. Isaiah. From the industry's perspective, what is the biggest barrier to electric mobility in Africa today? Vehicle availability, financing, charging infrastructure, electricity tariff standards, or policy uncertainty? Over to you, Mr. Isaiah. If you can just finish in 2 minutes.
Okay. I think the biggest barrier is the cost of EVs. In our country, the landed cost of a small vehicle is huge. And secondly, the lack of financing mechanism for the populace to afford to buy electric vehicles. We don't have hire purchase schemes to enable people to buy electric vehicles. And then the other aspect, of course, is the infrastructure, the charging infrastructure, being able to put it across throughout the country so that people can utilize it. We have a lot of pilots that have been done, and most of them haven't actually scaled up. And that's really where the issue becomes. How do you scale up? You know, the technology is proven, but then, of course, the other thing that I mentioned earlier on is also, as a country, we also have like 20% ethanol blending on fossil fuel, which is coming from sugarcane grown in the country. So that also is a competition to electric vehicles. And it's a transitional phase that we'll have to go through. Incentives, of course, is also another issue. We have had some incentives on batteries, solar panels, and also electric vehicles. But we need to do more to be able to have uptake in that area.
That's
Thank
excellent.
you. We'll have to close the session here. I'm extremely sorry. We'll have to close the session as per the protocol. So I have been asked to wind up the sessions here itself because they have to prepare their stage for the First Lady coming here. So thank you. And as we heard briefly from the panel, I mean, after the closing sessions, if you are interested, we can again convene and have those remaining conversations. But as of now, as we conclude, ISA would be releasing a point of view for the Global South on electric mobility during the assembly on 2nd and 3rd November. And as we have heard, in Africa, the first starting point could be the two-wheelers and three-wheelers as a segment. So thank you. Thank you.
spinning.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you. We are getting to the end of this whole program, so I expect us to be still alive and ready to go to the closing ceremony. We will soon be joined by our guest of honor, Her Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe. So when she comes in, I'll ask you to stand. We'll then go into the national anthem, almost like what happened yesterday, but it's just the closing ceremony part. So once she comes through, I'll request you to stand, and then we go into the closing ceremony. So just be ready. Just need everyone to be seated. If possible, all those who are standing, please find seats so that we are able to, let's accommodate some of those who might not have been here, so that where possible, please, let's all find seats. The First Lady's come through, let's all stand and receive her. Let's remain standing to allow all the dignitaries to take their positions. May we have the national anthem. Thank you. May we be seated. Your Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe, we warmly welcome you, Madam, to this auspicious occasion where we are going through our closing ceremony. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of our Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution for Mat North, Honorable Richard Moyo, who's hosting us in this province. I would like to recognize our Minister of Energy and Power Development, who is the co-host of this 8th meeting of the International Solar Alliance Regional Committee for Africa, which was held between the 25th and 27th. I would also like to recognize, in absentia, the Vice President for the International Solar Alliance for Africa region, Her Excellency, the Minister of Environment, Energy and Natural Resources, Mrs. Mary May Jeremy. She did manage to welcome you, however, she had a flight to catch. So she has asked me to pass her apologies for not being here. I would also like to recognize the African Union Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, Miss Lerato Dorothy Matabohe. She also passed her apologies. She had also to catch a flight. We also like to recognize our Director General, who is our co-host here, Mr. Ashish Khanna, together with his team of directors and officials who have made it possible for us to host everyone here today. I would like to also recognize the ambassador of India to Zimbabwe, Mr. Kuma, who is also representing the presidency of ISA. The president of ISA is the Minister of Renewable Energy, Clean Energy, India. So he's represented here by His Excellency. I would also like to recognize all honorable ministers we have come here from the different member states of ISA, including those states which are in the process of finalizing their membership to ISA. I would like to recognize our Deputy Minister of Energy and Power Development, who is also here with us, all the different ambassadors, excellencies, heads of delegation, with a special mention to that, our own ambassador to India has also accompanied the team here, Ambassador Stella Nkomo. She's also here with us, together with other ambassadors in India who represent different African states who also have come here, Your Excellency. We also have the CEO of the United Nations Sustainable Energy for All and Special Representative of the UN Secretary General, Ms. Damilola Ongumbi. I hope I didn't pronounce it badly. I tried my best. I would like to recognize all the captains of industry, including those who are leading our own parastatals, senior government officials here present, representatives of the academia and research institutions, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start the program by inviting to the podium the Director General of ISA to come and do the introductory remarks to the First Lady. You have the floor.
I have to adjust it slightly high. Her Excellency, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Minister Moyo, State Minister, Ambassador of India, and distinguished delegates, let me first start on behalf of 200 delegates from 42 countries, including 22 ministers from Africa, a big thanks from the bottom of our heart for excellent warmth and hospitality shown by Republic of Zimbabwe. Please join me in giving a big round of applause. Your Excellency, this confluence of stakeholders was about moving from ambition to action. We discussed how Africa is ready to move from megawatts to gigawatts and millions to billions, both by public but more importantly through private sector investment. We unveiled a continental pathway for implementation of clean energy called Solarizing Africa. We believe it is the people of Africa in the villages, the youth and women, who are ready to get all the potential for solar through solar rooftops, through mini grids, through solar pumps. And that will be the main vehicle for financing of Africa's solar facility that got unveiled of $200 million across Africa. We also believe agriculture, food security, and energy security are extremely important, and we were having 7 countries sign the Zimbabwe Declaration for Community of Practice. In addition, we had detailed deliberations and technical sessions. All the countries also gave their opinion on what are their priorities. We were able to look at a lot of capacity building across Africa. There are 11 centers for excellence already operational from ISA. But I want to end by saying that this is just the initiation, because we believe Africa is ready for takeoff, and 22 gigawatts of solar capacity must reach 150 gigawatts by 2030 and 1,000 gigawatt by 2040. This is a combined commitment. With that, I thank you, Honorable Lady. Your presence really gives us a big motivation to move ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director General. So let me adjust to my height. I'm not as endowed as yourself in terms of height, so I have to take it down a bit. I would just like to remind the team that when I introduced myself, I didn't say who I was. So I'll just want to repeat to say I am Gloria Magombo, the Secretary for Energy and Power Development. And today I am once again the ED Events Director. And I'm sure Amai knows the ED. So thank you, Amai. I would like to take this opportunity to call upon our Deputy Minister to come to the podium and introduce our guest of honor, who is our mother of the nation and champion of family, environment, tourism, everything which deals with the family. She is the champion of. Honorable Deputy Minister, you can come to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellency, Amai Pamsori Mama, I want to recognize the Ambassador of India, who is here on the podium with you, Mama. I also want to recognize the Director General for ISA, the Honorable Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Minister July Moyo, the Honorable Minister of State for Matabele North, Honorable Moyo, Your Excellencies, and all the delegates who are here today. I have been given the privilege to give some introductory remarks to the First Lady and also the mammoth task of introducing her. Your Excellency, Amai, let me give you just a few briefs on the events that have happened in the past 2 days. I want to start by assuring you, Amai, that all these people that you are seeing here, we have done what you have taught us. We have welcomed them well, and we have showed them a lot of hospitality and we fed them well. I'm sure they can attest to, they can attest to that. We tried to copy your skills on gastronomy so that when they go back home, they can be able to attest on the good hospitality of Zimbabwe as a whole. Your Excellency, this year we had the opportunity to host the 8th International Solar Alliance Regional Committee for the Africa region from the 25th to the 27th here in the Victoria Falls. We had the privilege of having His Excellency the President opening for us yesterday. We kicked off with a meeting on high level, which saw some high-level remarks being highlighted on the importance of energy in development. The member states that are here pointed out Africa's readiness to upscale power generation based on political will. Our energy, we talked about our energy combats and the lowered global cost of solar energy and storage. Some issues were also announced in this meeting, which included the Continental Clean Energy Plan, which I'm sure, Amai, you are very interested in, as I know you are also interested in issues of clean cooking and solarization for Africa and Zimbabwe as a whole. We also talked about the Africa Solar Facility and the Solar Agriculture Program. These are all aimed at upscaling solar deployment and uptake. Your Excellency, we are equally happy that India remains a strategic partner. This is shown by the number of Indian companies that continue to supply and grow into Zimbabwe, as well as other African states markets, which is a very welcome development for us. ISA is also very active in building through thorough establishment of centers of excellence. In Zimbabwe, a solar technology application and research center, the STAR-C, is going to be opened. This is going to be opened at Chinhoyi University of Technology, and this is going to focus on mostly on research towards solarization in Zimbabwe. India has also opened up for fully sponsored trainings in India at both master's and PhD level for professionals across the member states. As I conclude, Amai, I would like to notify you that, as has been indicated in the briefing, we will be signing the country partnership framework today as a country. We are joining other nations that have already signed theirs yesterday. I'm talking about this CPF2 because that is the tool that is meant to open more opportunities and strengthen our relationship with ISA and other ISA member states. It is also this tool that is going to be used for the Solar for She program that is aimed at empowerment of women through solarization, especially in agriculture. And I know that is an area that you are very interested in. As I proceed, I've been asked to introduce you to 42 countries. You can imagine the task that I've been given. These people that are here are representing 42 African countries. So as I'm standing here, I'm going to introduce you to half of Africa. And this representation is comprised of ministers, ambassadors, permanent secretaries, directors, financiers, and because this is the energy industry, it also includes engineers. Ladies and gentlemen, the person that I'm going to introduce here, yesterday when the Honorable Minister asked me to look into her biography and I was writing down notes, I was almost at 20 pages, just trying to describe and make sure that you understand the things that she has accomplished for us as Zimbabwe, the things that she has accomplished for us as women and young people and the community of Zimbabwe as a whole. The First Lady is the founder and patron of the Angel of Hope Foundation, which serves as the primary vehicle for her charitable activities. Her work is diverse, focusing on reaching marginalized and vulnerable communities throughout Zimbabwe. To me, she is the eye that sees the gaps and the needs within our communities. She's the person that identifies the challenges that we have and tries to solve them. Amai is a person who does not believe in bureaucracy. She does not believe that there could be a problem within Zimbabwe that cannot be solved. So that's why she's always going around to all of the communities. It does not matter how far a community lives. You will see her there. You will see her mixing with the people there, trying to understand how they are living and the problems that they could be facing. And definitely she will solve them. She is a mother that is interested in health and childcare. She has been appointed the Ambassador for Health and Childcare, and her initiatives include building mobile clinics and screening programs for the communities, providing accessible and free screening for conditions like cervical cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer in remote areas. She has done health outreach programs, facilitating free medical specialist services to marginalized communities. She is also very interested in women's empowerment and the welfare of women in general, with a major focus on strengthening women's economic stability and rights. When you talk about women, she will look at everything that encompasses a woman as a mother, a wife, and as a human being. Through the Angel of Hope Foundation projects, she has initiated and supported comprehensive self-help projects such as nutrition gardens, fish ponds, orchards, and free-range chickens rearing to promote self-sustenance. Her Excellency the First Lady is a champion of Agric for She, which is a program that ISA has also brought to us to complement through the Solar for She program. This is a program that the Excellency has spearheaded, championing agricultural programs specifically for women to ensure that we have food security as well as balanced nutrition. I'm proud to say that our First Lady is the Vice President for the organization of the First Ladies for Development from 2018 to 2022, and she has been focusing on combating HIV/AIDS and engaging youth on sexual health. She is also our environmental and community ambassador. I'm sure Amai, you'll be very interested to know that here among our exhibitors, we have also exhibitors that are fighting against waste in the environment and also coming up with initiatives that promote the curbing of waste management. I know you have also advocated for social welfare through environmental issues, and you have supported marginalized communities where your foundation has spread wings to communities like the San, the Doma. You've donated essential items and initiated other projects there while advocating for cultural preservation. Cultural preservation is also an area that the First Lady has her heart put to, as she makes sure that we are all grounded and remain truly Zimbabwean and African. She is a former chairperson of the Pan-African Parliament for the Southern Africa region. And this is very exciting for us, Amai, because I know you being a former member of parliament and a high-level politician, it means you can help us to push and recommend for relevant policies in the energy sector. I know you are very interested in women in energy, and I also know that this venture that has been brought here by ISA, the Solar for She, that will promote through agriculture, is also something that will also come close to your heart. I know I can spend the whole day here just trying to explain your exploits and your achievements that we are so proud of as Zimbabwe, that we are so proud of as the Minister of Energy. Hence, the invitation for you, Amai, to come here and meet these delegates that are here coming from all over Zimbabwe. And in this regard, all over Africa. I'm sorry, Amai. They've come from all over Africa, and some of them have come beyond Africa, coming in from India and other states. So I welcome you, Amai, to come and greet the delegates as well as give them a few words of welcome. Thank you, Amai.
Please be seated. Thank you. Greetings to you all and welcome to Zimbabwe. Thank you. The Honorable Minister of State for Matabeleland North Province, Honorable Richard Moyo, the Honorable Minister of Energy and Power Development, Honorable Julai Moyo. They are all two Moyos. I don't know which Moyo is important than the other one. Plus me. Yes. Her Excellency African Union Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, Ms. Lerato D. Mataboge. Vice President of the International Solar Alliance for the Africa region, Mrs. Mary May Jeremy. United Nations Resident Coordinator Zimbabwe, Ms. Rosemary Kalapura Kao. The Director General of International Solar Alliance, Mr. Ashish Khanna, CEO of Sustainable Energy for All and Special Representative of the UN Secretary General, Ms. Damilola Ogunibi. Other ministers here present, heads of diplomatic missions here in Zimbabwe and international organizations, and special welcome to diplomatic missions from African countries, especially African member states in India and India. Permanent Secretary for Energy and Power Development, Dr. Gloria S. Magombo. Permanent Secretary for Matabeleland North Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Ms. Tandi Wenube. Other permanent secretaries and senior government officials here present. Mayor of the City of Victoria Falls, His Worship Councillor Prince Tuso Moyo. Heads of public and private institutions. Representatives from academia and research institutions. Members of the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome you all to Zimbabwe and to the breathtaking city of Victoria Falls. For many years, through the Angel of Hope Foundation and nationwide initiatives, such as A Greek for She, I have worked shoulder to shoulder with our women across Zimbabwe, particularly in establishing nutrition gardens, raising livestock, developing fish ponds, and building sustainable livelihoods with their own hands. In every village, I have witnessed an enduring truth. When a woman gains reliable access to water, modern knowledge, and productive tools, an entire community prospers. A garden nourishes a child. A harvest yields dignity and income, keeps the girl child in school. Energy, particularly solar, is an enabler that catalyzes and accelerates this chain of progress. It powers irrigation when rainfall is erratic, refrigerates food and life-saving vaccines, lights our rural clinics after sunset, and drives thriving small enterprises. And our National Development Strategy, NDS, Zimbabwe has demonstrated remarkable momentum in energy transformation. National electricity access is decisively advanced to 62%, with urban connectivity surpassing 80% alongside rapid, innovative expansion in decentralized off-grid solutions. We have also witnessed huge investments in power generation from both conventional and renewable energy sources. This upward trajectory shows what dedicated leadership and clear vision can achieve. Our ambition now is to build on this solid foundation, turning abundant sunlight into electricity for universal health, food security, advanced technical skills, and industrial opportunity across every corner of our nation. That strategic purpose unites the three landmark initiatives we inaugurate at this ISA Africa Regional Meeting: a center that anchors national expertise, a toolkit that places women at the center of energy governance, and a partnership framework that translates bold policy into bankable reality. It is my privilege to dedicate Zimbabwe's new Solar Technology and Application Resource Center, STAR-C, to our people, especially our young women, aspiring engineers, and local innovators. Located at Chinuya University of Technology in partnership with the International Solar Alliance and our Ministry of Energy and Power Development, and Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Science and Technology Innovation, this center belongs to the next generation. It is their workshop and innovation hub to master solar technology, build homegrown solutions, and power Zimbabwe's future with their own hands. May this center become a living workshop for Zimbabwe's clean energy transition, an incubation hub where cutting-edge ideas are tested, technicians are certified, enterprises are nurtured, and locally tailored solutions journey from the university laboratory directly into the village. I want to see young Zimbabweans, and especially our young women, designing, deploying, maintaining, and leading the solar innovations that power our Vision 2030 goals. This gender ambition is championed by ISA's dedicated Solar for She initiative and the rollout of its gender assessment toolkit. Globally, while women represent approximately 40% of the solar photovoltaic workforce, they hold only around 17% of senior decision-making positions. Oh, this is very bad. 17% is very low. And we need to work hard so that we raise this number. Participation in numbers without equal leadership is not enough. Women must lead where policies are drafted, capital is allocated, technologies are engineered, and national infrastructure projects are directed. Under the Solar for She banner, this toolkit equips governments, financiers, and developers with a rigorous framework to ensure women participate not merely as passive beneficiaries, but as board members, engineers, investors, and executives. I urge every institution represented here to deploy it as a practical instrument of institutional accountability. Finally, I warmly welcome the Zimbabwe ISA Country Partnership Framework. This framework bridges ambitious commitments and high-impact delivery by aligning technical capacity, project preparation, and green financing with Zimbabwe's development priorities. Its impact will be visible across solar-powered irrigation for our smallholder farmers, reliable clean power for rural clinics and schools, productive hubs for youth entrepreneurs, and climate resilience for our most vulnerable communities. Empowerment is not something conferred upon people. It is what becomes inevitable when structural barriers are dismantled and opportunity is placed firmly within reach. Today, through these three initiatives, we dismantle the barriers of technical limitation, gender-blind planning, and project delivery gaps. Let us ensure that Africa's abundant sunshine fuels inclusive growth, human dignity, and lasting prosperity for all our people. I want to thank you very much for coming to Zimbabwe and attending this conference, a crucial conference, mostly looking at the family unity, a woman, a mother, and her children. I want to say thank you very much because you have come to strengthen what I am doing as the First Lady of Zimbabwe, looking at the family unit, the family setup, that the mother and your children, what are you doing? We are living in a world that has brought so many problems in our countries. Africa must rise. Africa, this is the opportunity to be together, work together, and to receive wholeheartedly partners who are coming genuinely to our countries for development. And Africa, rise. Africa, we want to grow. Women, we are saying, we should occupy those gaps. We should be found leading when it comes to this. It is now open for women to come together and we work and show that Africa has mothers, has women, and who can lead and who can work very hard. Working for families is not simple. It's not something that you can look upon. It's a duty which comes with so much. It takes a lot from the mother. We need support from you, our husbands, you, our leaders as men, to promote us, to strengthen us, to see what we are doing and appreciate us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amai. May we give another round of applause? Yes, Africa should rise, and women are ready to lead. We have a mother who is leading by example in every sphere of the economy and in every sphere of our social lives. We would like to thank you, Amai, for that special address. And also, you also highlighted 3 initiatives which we are now going to proceed for you to then launch. The first initiative is that of the Star C under the University of Chinoy, where we will be requesting you to press a button to digitally launch that initiative. Your Excellency, I hope the button has come through. Yes. It says the solar technology and, oh, the video was quite fast. It's a plaque which will be taken to the University of Chinoy, and you have just unveiled it. Thank you, Your Excellency. We would like to move on to the next initiative, which was part of your speech, related to the digital unveiling of the Solar Universal Gender Assessment Tool, also referred to as
Is this transition creating opportunities for everyone? Introducing SOGAT, Solar Universal Gender Assessment Tool, ISA's interactive self-assessment tool that helps policymakers assess gender inclusion in renewable energy policies and programs, identify gaps, and take practical steps towards a more inclusive energy future. SOGAT helps policymakers see how well gender considerations are integrated into national solar policies and programs and identify practical steps to strengthen them. The rural livelihood impact through women, whether it is solar-powered pumps or decentralized solar applications, can be best addressed.
Oh, well, it was going to be another digital unveiling, so I guess the video had come through. Would you like to say something, Director General, on that? Because I think we're almost done. Was that the end of the video? Yeah. Okay. Please go ahead. Yes. You wanted her to actually initiate
yes, that's
the
right.
video.
I think they played it by mistake. Sorry. Please, maybe we can request the First Lady to unveil the video now, please. Thank you.
just transition creating opportunities for everyone? Introducing SOGAT, Solar Universal Gender Assessment Tool, ISA's interactive self-assessment tool that helps policymakers assess gender inclusion in renewable energy policies and programs, identify gaps, and take practical steps towards a more inclusive energy future. SOGAT helps policymakers see how well gender considerations are integrated into national solar policies and programs and identify practical steps to strengthen them. The rural livelihood impact through women, whether it is solar-powered pumps or decentralized solar applications, can be best addressed by these assessment tools because women employment and women participation in rural economies can be interwoven with solar. SOGAT brings together the expertise of gender and solar specialists, insights from ISA's gender focal points, and perspectives gathered through surveys and consultations with policy experts and practitioners across multiple countries. This collaborative approach ensures its recommendations are grounded in real-world experience and designed to be practical, relevant, and actionable. Through a simple questionnaire, countries are assessed across 5 dimensions on 21 parameters: political will, participation, technical capacity, implementation, and impact. Based on their responses, countries are placed on a maturity spectrum from gender nascent to gender transformed, with a step-by-step tailored roadmap to progress. Each question is assessed on a 5-point scale, providing a clear picture of the country's progress. Once the responses are completed, SOGAT presents an overall assessment along with an interpretation of the findings and suggested next steps. It also offers actionable recommendations for each parameter, making it a practical and comprehensive tool for advancing gender integration. SOGAT, helping ISA member countries build a gender-sensitized solar future that works and counts for everyone. Scan the QR code to take the assessment.
Thank you, Amai, for unveiling that SOGAT tool. We are not just doing it for Zimbabwe, but it's for the whole of Africa and the world at large. And as you highlighted, we need participation and full participation. And such tools will help us to evaluate ourselves where we are. We might be gender nascent or we might be transformed. So that will help us to evaluate. I would like to move on to the next item, which is the signing and the exchange of the ISA Zimbabwe Country Partnership Framework. I would like to invite Tatenda and a teacher to come with the Yesterday, we witnessed the other countries who signed, and we felt it was important that you officially witness this today for Zimbabwe. And thank you for accepting this very important gesture, because it calls for us to be accountable to what we are signing today. And we would like to request the 2 ministers to stand and and show the team what they have signed and show you Amai. Thank you. Thank you so much. This morning we met to highlight some of the critical areas which we'll be looking at under this framework. They come down to the issues which you mentioned in your speech, which is ensuring that we develop the necessary technical expertise, and we now have the STAR Center in Chinhoyi. We will also want to roll out mini-grids and other programs which are related to solar, not just procurement, but also with the view of the long-term local manufacturing and empowerment of our entrepreneurs. And also the other area of impact is that of financing. Financing has always been seen as one area where access to patient and low-cost capital has been a challenge, but it's part of what we have included in this. We will also work with the different regulations, policies, and frameworks to make sure that we support the Zimbabwe growth of the energy sector. Thank you, Your Excellency, for witnessing this. I would like to move on to the next item, where I would like to call upon the Director General to present an appreciation for you being here. Thank you, Director General. I don't know whether you want to explain your gift or we move on. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
I mentioned that it's a solar watch, and it can change the lives of people, because then even their daily lives can be.
Thank you, thank you. I think I would like to, usually once we have presented the gift, if the guest of honor will want to say something, I'm not sure, we can then move on to the full vote of thanks, where we will have one of the ISA members coming to thank you, Amai, and everyone else who is here. Would you like to say something, Your Excellency?
Oh, I just want to say thank you very much for the solar watch, and it's my first time seeing it, and I'm going to show everybody that this is thank you very much for the gift.
We knew we have a champion from you. Thank you. We would like to call upon the one of the Secretariat members, Miss Namrata Mukaje. I hope I pronounced it well. Please come through, Madam, and do your vote of thanks. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's a deep honor to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the International Solar Alliance. I would like to begin by expressing our profound gratitude to Her Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe, for gracing this occasion. Thank you so much, ma'am. Your presence has added great significance and warmth to this gathering. I would also like to acknowledge the distinguished dignitaries seated on the dais and extend my respectful greetings to the honorable ministers, esteemed delegates, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I would like to extend our warmest gratitude to our host country, the government and people of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Matebele Land, North Province, and Victoria Falls, for your extraordinary warmth, generosity, and hospitality, and for welcoming us so graciously to this beautiful part of Africa. Our sincere thanks also goes to the chair of the 8th meeting of the ISA Regional Committee for the Africa region, Republic of Seychelles, for your leadership and guidance. I would like to thank the Vice President of the region, Republic of Ghana, for your continued support and valuable contribution to the work of the International Solar Alliance. My heartfelt thanks to all the delegations from ISA member countries, signatory and prospective countries, development partners who have traveled far and wide to join us here in Victoria Falls. Your commitment and partnership are at the heart of our collective endeavor. A special word of appreciation to the Elephant Hills Resort for your warm hospitality and for hosting us so wonderfully. Our sincere appreciation to all protocol, liaison officers and officials from Zimbabwe whose tireless efforts behind the scenes have made this entire organizational effort seamless. And finally, thank you to each and every one of you whom I could not acknowledge. You all know that you've all been strong pillars of support for this program. I thank you all. As we conclude, let us carry forward the spirit of partnership, solidarity, and shared ambition that has defined these deliberations and continue working together to accelerate solarization of Africa. Tatenda, Dhanyavad, thank you.
Tatenda. Thank you for proposing the vote of thanks. I would like everyone to stand as we now close the ceremony with our national anthem. Thank you. Let's be seated. I would like to invite the top table, together with our guest of honor, Her Excellency, the First Lady of the Republic of Zimbabwe, to leave the podium as they go to tour the exhibitions. There's only 3 people, all the people on the dais are the ones who will be required to tour with the First Lady. The rest of us, let's remain seated so that I'm sure you have had your time to go into the exhibition wall so that we allow her to see the exhibition wall. Once they are there, we will then invite all our ministers to go down with us to the front foyer, where we are going to take a picture with our guest of honor after she's finished the tour of the stand. It gives us time to transition to the foyer, where we will then do a family photo together with all the ministers and heads of delegations who are here. The rest of us will remain here. I'll allow ISA Secretariat to then do the housekeeping announcements thereafter. Yes. We will also have a visit to the rainforest at 3 o'clock. All the protocol officers have been advised, those who are dealing with the heads of delegations, especially our honorable ministers, courtesy of our Honorable Minister, you will be taking you to the rainforest at 3 o'clock. So for now, there will be lunch, obviously, which will be served soon after we take the family photo. And then thereafter, people can go into their comfortable, it's a rainforest. So a suit might not be the best. Just get something comfortable. There will be some umbrellas and also raincoats for those who might still feel comfortable with their ties and suits. So we will be advising the protocol officers to work with you, honorable ministers, and all those who have been invited for the rainforest visit. But it's a beautiful afternoon. Victoria Falls has so many other activities which you are invited to participate on, including bungee jumping just across the bridge. So thank you so much. Let's allow our guest of honor to leave. Let's remain seated. They say they want a few people. So I would like to call on the ISA Secretariat to make any other housekeeping announcements. Okay. Let's give them just about a minute or so to go into the exhibition space. We'll then all come down. Protocol officers, be ready to lead the ministers. We'll allow the ministers to leave first so that they can be taken to the other side. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank you all for listening to your ED. I'm signing out. Thank you.
Excellencies, colleagues, thank you so much for your kind attention. We have a site visit on schedule. We would request all of you to kindly assemble. Those who are interested in going to Victoria Falls, we have made arrangements for all the ISA delegates. Make sure that you have your accreditation cards. Make sure that you have your accreditation cards. Only the ones that have accreditation cards would be permitted to board the transport to take you to Victoria Falls. We'll assemble at the foyer by 2:45. We request you all to also kindly join us for lunch immediately so that you can have lunch and join us at the foyer. Precisely at 2:45 we shall then proceed.
People need to carry their passports.
Jova, seguru musinda gore, pachiweshe, guruwe muri kwere, kanzera chikunza, mauchi, mamuga sei, masura sei manjarweni. So, check. Mudo